Welcome to the Weekly Reference. I'm Mark. I love movies. Let's talk about them. Each week, I'm going to choose three topics I'm interested in, and I'll try not to waste your time. You can listen and watch on YouTube, or you can look up the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you'd like you get your podcast from. Just look up the movie reference. On this week's episode, I want to talk about the release date that was announced for Wake Up Dead Man. The Wicked for Good trailer came out this week. And also, Ballerina's out this weekend. I want to look at the critics and see what they're saying about the film because I'm so excited for it. So let's get into it. We finally have a release date for the latest Knives Out film, written and directed by Rian Johnson, starring Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. They did a Netflix event called Tadam. You can't help but make the sound. And that's where they announced it. Did a little teaser, and they said that it's coming out on December 12th, 2025, which is awesome. It's exciting. I love the Knives Out franchise. I think this has been a really fun series for Rian Johnson to play around in, a murder mystery thing. I think it seems like it's enticing him and makes him more excited about the things that he's making. He's a great writer director. I love Looper. That was my introduction to him. I think Looper is just one of the best films out. I just watched it recently. And the Knives Out series has been really awesome and solid. People are mixed on like his choices with The Last Jedi. I remember the first time I watching The Last Jedi, I really loved my experience, but I haven't gone back to it. Okay, let me take that back. When I bought it, I did watch it quite a bit, but then it started getting sour and sour and sour, and I just was like, you know what? Let me just take my theatrical experience and just let that be what it is, and I just haven't revisited that film in a bit. But I feel like he's found his like creative energy in this world. I mean, he even has his little series called Poker Face, which I haven't seen that one yet, but I heard it's really well done. But the Knives Out films, I mean, come on. I mean, I remember the first Knives Out came out in 2019. It's this dysfunctional rich family that will turn on each other any which way. Such a great introduction to the character of Benoit Blanc, and it was like it's just a fun, energetic, funky movie with a great score and just a really good energy. Now, when I first saw that film in theaters, I actually walked out disappointed. I was having an off day, to be honest. And then I rewatched it at home, and I was like, "Oh, whoa, yeah, man, I'm mistaken. This movie's great, and it's been one of my favorites ever since. I love revisiting. Great cast, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, so many great people in that film. You got to check it out. I highly recommend the first Knives Out. And then after that, didn't know what was going to happen. Then Netflix came in. They decided that they're going to buy the rights to the follow-ups, the second one and the third one, for $450 million with not much return in investment. I guarantee you, because they're not putting a lot of emphasis on the theatrical experience, which is such a mistake on their part. They could have definitely utilized that as to propel their platform even further. But, hey, yeah, there's a lot of other people that talk about that stuff, and I enjoy that conversation. But it's very true. Streaming does better when you do something great in the theater. But they spent that much money, and that was as of March 31st, 2021. That I got this from Variety. Crazy. Fast forward to 2022, you get Glass Onion. It's the sequel follow-up. This time they decided to take a whole different adventure, more tropical, or I guess epic, and I forget where they are. They're on an island, on a remote island. It's during COVID, and the cast, and that's awesome as well. But it's like a dysfunctional friendship thing going on. A bunch of rich friends who are willing to stab each other in the back, and it's very unhealthy, but a lot of fun. I think Glass Onion is not as good as the first Knives Out film, but Glass Onion is pretty solid, man. I have a really good time. I like to get to know Benoit Blanc a little bit more. I love his performance in that film, and those characters are some kooky characters. But yeah, here we are. Wake Up Dead Man. The teaser seems dark. It seems dire. I hope they didn't lose out on the fun. I feel like Ryan likes to lean in on the fun, and so does Daniel Craig. But like, I hope they still have the fun, because they've already established this character very well. There's obviously comedic moments throughout these films, and that'd be such a downer if this one takes a more serious approach, which I don't think it will, but it looks like it with the teaser. But the line in there, when he goes, This was dressed as a miracle, but it's just a murder. And I solve murders. Like, that's not his accent, but I can't do it justice. But man, it was such a good line. I was like, oh, yes. So I obviously Daniel Craig as this character is probably the highlight of these films. He does this, he plays it so brilliantly. It's a chef kiss performance. It's a nice, well, at this point, it's no longer an antidote, but at one point, it was a little bit of an antidote, against a little bit of against typed versus Bond, right? Bond being Bond, right? James Bond. And I love Daniel Craig as James Bond. Of course I did. But man, when he did Logan Lucky and he did Knives Out, I felt like this is such a welcomed like alternative. I really enjoy him playing this character. And like I said, I love Ryan Johnson as well as a director. I think he's pretty amazing. I hope that he keeps continuing this murder mystery situation, but I also want to see him, go back and do some other things. But he has a lot of fun with this stuff, this trickery. I mean, you look at Looper. I haven't seen Brick. I know Brick is widely talked about, but yeah, yeah. I think he's very talented. Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, releases on December 12th, 2025. It's my third most anticipated movie of the year, so I can't wait. The teaser that was released looks to be a darker film than the previous installments, but I hope there's still fun to be had. I love Johnson and Craig together. They're the dynamic duo, and I hope they're able to maintain the fun of the Blanc character and with adding more layers to him like they did with the Glass Onion. As exciting as it is to be in another murder mystery, I'm also really excited to see the cast, which is another notable, spectacular cast, including Brolin and Renner and Glenn Close and I'm blanking on names, but the cast is stacked. I want to see them play in Ryan Johnson's sandbox. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. And I hope it's the best mystery yet. The Wicked for Good trailer dropped this week, and it caught my attention. Listen, I never reviewed Wicked on this platform in any capacity. I did talk about it a lot when I first started this channel or restarted this channel. And because I was listening to all the hype, right? And there was a lot of hype surrounding this film between the Oscars, the interviews. I enjoyed listening to Ariana Grande on Smartless. And then, of course, my sister and my sister-in-law raved about this film. So when I sat down to watch Wicked for the first time at home, it didn't live up to the hype. I was a bit disappointed. I was a bit underwhelmed. And I'm a theater guy. Like, I love going to the movie theater. That's where movies belong. And watching stuff at home is more like this is where you rewatch things. So I think my experience is kind of that. And I'm not saying going to the theater is going to make every experience that much better, but it's different when you have a toddler running around, right? Like, so the first experience I had, I was like, man, this is kind of mean spirited. I don't know. The songs, I didn't really stick with me. It just was, I wasn't like emotionally connected like everyone else was. And I thought, man, there's something wrong with me. I just didn't have a great experience the first time watching it. But then I saw this, the trailer came out and I was like, I'm curious. Maybe it'll capture my attention a little bit. And it did. It really did. I thought it looked darker than the first one, despite, we know these films are beautifully colored. But, like, it seemed darker. It seemed like, okay, Elphaba is now she's on her revenge mission. Let's see where it's headed. And there seems to be a time jump in this trailer and all that stuff. And listen, I have a weird thing with The Wizard of Oz anyway. Listen, I watched it a lot as a kid. But it's also one of those movies that, when I was watching it, my parents came and told me that they were getting a divorce. Yeah, unpack that trauma. No, thank you. But that's what happened. So it's kind of ironic. No Place Like Home, and my home was being broken up. But like, so I have this weird relationship with The Wizard of Oz, and I haven't gone back to it since I was a kid. Thanks, parents. But the trailer though it kind of reminded me of what I loved about the first one though, because there was a lot of things that I really enjoyed about the first one, despite not feeling like on everyone else's level. So it made me go back to rewatch Wicked, which is kind of a good thing, right? You put out a trailer and you're like, well, this is a pretty solid trailer. I'm interested to see what happens with the rest of the story, and then all of a sudden, yeah, here I am. I'm watching the first Wicked, and this time I have a completely different experience with this film. I actually thought I had more fun with it. The music stood out a lot more than it did the first time. I was able to get involved with more of the characters. There's definitely some things that I feel it's too long. There are some mean spirited humor moments that I know it's supposed to highlight how awful a certain character is, or trying to make a character seem endearing, but it just sounds bad coming out of their mouth. I don't know, something to do with the character. I don't know. It just some of the humor didn't work. It kind of reminds me of how the Grinch stole Christmas a little bit. If you've seen the one with Jim Carrey. And it's like, oh man, why is everyone picking on Alphaba? Who cares if she's green? And I know I just couldn't turn my brain off of that. I was like, who gives a crap? But the thing that I loved about the movie is that, or what I admire, is the Hollywood of it all. It feels like a Hollywood film. The production design, the costumes, the cast, like everything's top notch. The performances, the choreography. And going back to see it, I was like, oh man, I really slept on this movie. So I kind of walked away, kind of warmed up to the film, and even more excited about the sequel than I was initially, because I went into the trailer going, I don't know, part two. Like, I'm bad with prequels. I'm bad with prequels. I'm bad with spinoffs, especially when you know where the prequel's headed, right? It's so bad. You look at Star Wars, and there's some things that where it works, like a Rogue One. That's a cool story to tell, even though it's a prequel to A New Hope, right? But that's a cool way to look into it, to figure out how they got the Death Star plans. But then you look at something else, like now I'm blanking on some prequels. Oh, like Anakin Skywalker. Like, I'm less interested in seeing how Anakin became Darth Vader. I like him being Darth Vader already, and then leaving everything else a mystery, right? And that's kind of how I feel with this. Like, unless you're gonna go for a broke, if this prequel is worth it, then okay, let's see Alphaba go full Wicked Witch of the West, right? Let's see how it happens. If you're gonna make it happen, make it happen. Live up to that promise. And I love the color scheme. I think it's awesome. It's I don't know, man. There's a lot of like wonderful things about the movie, and I really like John M. Chu as a director. In the Heights, oh, that movie was like a breath of fresh air because it came out during the pandemic, right? That's when they were doing in home and at theater. Saw it in theaters, thought it was just amazing. It stayed with me, and then Crazy Rich Asians, of course, is a great film. So I really like him. And like I said, I don't know. I just got excited, I guess, with the teaser or the trailer, and then it made me watch the first one, and I thought, okay. So Wicked for Good. The new trailer enticed me to rewatch Wicked, and I ended up feeling differently towards the first film, despite being a prequel to a beloved classic, and despite being a villain origin story. I am interested in how Alphaba becomes the Wicked Witch of the West, and I hope they actually stick that landing. I love to catch part one in theaters, absolutely, since I only watched it at home the first time. See it in theaters, and then I want to continue that, like, and go see part two. I want it to be like my Dune experience. I went to go see Dune part one at the beginning of the month, and then I went to go see Dune part two at the end of the month. So hopefully they do the same tactic with this film, because I will be there. From the world of John Wick, Ballerina. It's out this weekend, and man, I love looking forward to movies and looking at the reviews, and maybe not going super in depth because some reviewers don't know how to, stop themselves from oversharing. I don't want to know everything about the plot. You know what I mean? But I do have my critics that I like to go to, and also like to go to Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't seen the movie yet. Otherwise, I would be reviewing it today. I'm going to see it actually a couple hours after this episode comes out. And I'll give you guys my out of theater review probably, unless this movie is something that I need to go more in depth with review wise, and feel the need to talk about it next week. But as of right now, I'm just going to do an out of theater review. And it's got Ana de Armas in there, Keanu Reeves, and so many other talented, great actors that I'm excited to see on the big screen. I can't wait to see this movie. It looks action packed. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like you're back in the world of John Wick. So looking at Rotten Tomatoes, I don't use this as a way to sway myself. I just like to get an idea of a majority, right? To everything has a majority now. Like you go to Letterboxd, you go to IMDb. There's always like a user rating that kind of is generated per user, and you kind of get an idea of how the audience is feeling. And I like to go there for critics. I like to go to Rotten Tomatoes to see, okay, where are we going? Where are we going? And they're swinging towards the positive with Ballerina. It's 71% as of this recording. I think 147 reviews, and I'm sure more are gonna pile in. But I think I think it's gonna ultimately sit in the 70s, right? It's gonna sit there, and that, I think that's pretty solid. That's a pretty good place to be. You know, it's what, 3 out of 5 or whatever. I mean, not be precise math there, but or a 7 out of 10. That seems like okay. So there's a lot to like, a lot to be had with this film, and it's hard for spin-off films because it's, you got to find a way that, like, there's the rules have been set. You know, the table has been set, especially when there's 4 John Wick films. It's been set, and now we're gonna go into this world through the eyes of a different character. And the important thing is setting up a character that we care about, that we want to see on the big screen, that we would like to continue with at some point. That's the hard part, because you already have the universe, you already set it up excellently. Now we're going to spin off and we're going to meet a new character, and if you don't like the character, then there's no point in doing the spin-off, right? So anyways, so among all that, the fact that they are, you know, they are climbing a little bit of a wall in comparison, because the John Wick films just continued to go up and up and up as far as how brilliantly and technical they were, the aspects of the stunts and the action, the fight choreography and all that stuff improved. The first movie has the most heart, though, right? The first movie has the most heart, and that was the thing with the Ballerina, is like, are you gonna have the heart? Are you going to feel like that great foundation that we want to continue this journey with Eve, right? That's who Ana de Armas plays in this film. So I go to Rotten Tomatoes, sitting at 71%. Let's compare it to the rest of the John Wick franchise. The first John Wick came out, it's at 86%. That's pretty awesome. I obviously, in my brain, it's like, this is a perfect movie. It's amazing. But it's at 86%. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 both come in at 89%, and then Chapter 4 comes in at 94%. So Ballerina is obviously the lowest in terms of the franchise, but that shouldn't deter you. That's just to give you kind of perspective of, at least it's pretty solid, though. Based on the rating, it's like, it's pretty solid, though, for a movie that's not all about John Wick. I think that's promising. I should say promising. Aside from Rotten Tomatoes, I have my 5 favorite critics that I love to go to for all my any movies that I'm excited for. John Campea, Sean Chandler, Christian Harloff, Jeremy Johns, and Chris Stuckman. I love all those guys. I think they're great reviewers, and I like their insight. And I may not agree with them all the time, but that's why I like going to their channels. And they all seem to sit in the same realm of one another. Like, it's a good time. The you know, like, the plot's a little you know, but when has the story ever been great other than maybe the first John Wick film? There's been interesting story elements and universe building in every John Wick film, but the strongest story in the series is the first one, right? And then, of course, the villain's weak. And man, okay, the villain is usually weak in these movies. Unfortunately, I wish somebody could write a great villain. I mean, just look at the last Mission Impossible. Like, not the entity, but the other guy, Gabriel. He's a pretty weak villain, despite how they're trying to make him menacing. So villains are always kind of like, unless you're gonna get a Thanos, they're usually slept on. They're usually slept on, and that stinks. And then, of course, we have this world that has its established rules when it comes to spin-off movies. Like, are you going to expand this in any way, any shape or form that's going to make us go, wow, that's really cool? Because each John Wick has done that. They've expanded. The Continentals are in different places. The High Table, the different characters you meet that are working under the High Table, but the rank, obviously climbing up in ranks. And so what is the Ballerina going to offer? And so, yes. And I don't know. I don't know what it's going to offer, but it looks like a lot of fun. Everybody seems to be gravitating towards the fact that it has a lot of great action in this film, a lot of amazing jaw-dropping moments, and a lot of time, apparently a lot of moments of, like, you're going to remember, like, certain specific things that you're going to call out. Like, you remember the scene when? You remember when this happened? And like that, I'm excited. I want to go to the theater and I want to go have fun. Does the story have to be super awesome. No, I don't think you have to do that. If it's just a revenge thing, okay, that's a trope that we use all the time in action movies. But is the character compelling? Are you expanding the universe? If you're doing all that stuff, then you're okay. Are we going to feel like we're in the John Wick universe? That's even more of a plus because I have 4 movies that I love because of John Wick, because of Keanu Reeves and Chad and David who put all this time and energy into this amazing franchise. So I want to see it continue. So Ballerina feels like generally everyone feels about the same about this film. The story isn't strong, the villain's kind of weak, but the action is fantastic. Ana de Armas apparently is made to be an action hero, which is awesome to see because she did so great in No Time to Die in that one little scene in Cuba. I want to see that. Apparently, there's a sense that we are back in the John Wick universe, which is great. And I hope that we are expanding that universe a little bit. And I hope we're expanding this story enough to continue with Eve, unless this is just a one and done spinoff and we're going to go see someone else in another way. But at all points across, it seems like this is a worthy spinoff. And I for myself, I can't wait to go see it in a couple hours, man. So yeah. So there's this week's The Movie Reference. Thank you guys for tuning in. Drop a comment, say hi. Tell me what your thoughts are on Wake Up Dead Man, the Wicked for Good trailer. Am I insane for not liking Wicked the first time I saw it? And then what are your thoughts about Ballerina? You're going to run out and see it this weekend? Please let me know in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe, do all that. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week.